It's absolutely apptacular. The Subject Cinema Android app. Everything you need to be a rabid Subject Cinema fan. Subject Cinema, 3-Minute Weekend, Tuesday Digidex, and Front Row 5 and 10. All right at your fingertips and available instantly. Plus, email and voicemail links, Facebook and Twitter hookups, Patreon support specials, and more is coming real soon. Don't just listen, app it. The all-in-one Subject Cinema podcast app. Android version available now at Google Play or on PNR Network websites. Amazon and iPhone apps coming soon. Don't delay. Download today.
Blueberry. This podcast is a member of the Blueberry Network. Blueberry. No E's. That's Blueberry, BLUBRRY.com. Blueberry.com.
This podcast is a proud member of the Lamb Podcasting Network. Find the network at largeassmovieblogs.com.
Are you okay?
No.
Do you want some water?
No.
Do you want cough drops?
I want this friggin' cold to go away.
Do you want me to slap you on the back and throw the germs out of you?
That's not going to help either.
They healed!
Thank you, Reverend Ainsley. Honestly,
well, it would work if you weren't such a
we've been gone a couple of weeks because we didn't have any choice. We'll talk a little bit about it in a little bit. And we're also, because of the stuff that was been going on, our plans for the last several weeks have been disrupted, so we'll explain what we're going to do when we get there. We have a whole bunch of interesting things to discuss this week. I hope you'll take us for that at face value.
Yep.
And it's all coming up right here, right now. I'm T.C. Kirkham.
I'm Kim Brown.
Step up. We are still alive.
We're still here on Subject Cinema. We hope you'll stick around.
Stand by to receive our transmission.
This town needs an enema.
Celebrating a decade of film podcasting. Lasting out of Beantown, USA, you're tuned into Subject Cinema with T.C. Kirkham and Kim Brown.
Directive.
Oh, behave. Yeah.
I volunteer as tribute.
Suppose you run your business and let me run mine. Here's looking at you, kid.
Before we get started, does anyone want to get out?
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome TC and Kim.
These last couple of weeks have been hell.
Yeah, they've not been.
Welcome to Subject Cinema. I'm T.C. Kirkham.
Hi, I'm Kim Brown.
Subject Cinema number 597, February 11th, 2018. If we were going to actually stuck to our schedule, we would have done our 600th show last week.
Yeah.
So we're just kind of going crazy. Hope you're okay.
I'm fine. I've been...
Lucky you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Health-wise, I've been good.
Let's tell you what happened. Couple of weeks ago.
Sick.
Huh?
He's been sick.
Yeah. Okay, that was nice.
No, I'm just just doing my cartoon silly
I
voice.
guess, huh?
No, he has been ill.
I will be indignant from now on.
No, please don't be
Or
indignant.
indignant.
Don't be upset.
I woke up two Saturdays ago with this massive headache, and I didn't know what was wrong. Now, I don't know, I haven't really talked a lot about it, but I've been under doctor's care for about a year and 2 months now for a kidney ailment. And they keep telling me, if you have a fever, you take this slip into the ER and you have them do all these tests, because the medication that I take is kind of crazy. Well, I wasn't sure. I felt feverish, but Kim said I didn't feel feverish. Anyway, I ended up missing 2 days of work and having the whole weekend stuff, 3 days work, and ended up missing everything else. I was that sick. I was literally, and finally it went pop and my head cleared up and I was okay, but I still have a lingering cough and I'm still hoarse. I have not felt that bad in at least 5 years.
No, but I still didn't think you had a fever. Otherwise, I would have been the first one to drag you to the ER.
She got a little bit of it, but fought it off. Yeah. Lucky her.
Amazingly enough, I did.
So we've had a lot of screw ups with our shows this weekend.
The big
last
problem,
2 weeks. So.
I think the big problem, and I think this is something that a lot of people out there who work in office buildings can attest to, happens to you guys as well. You have one person that gets sick, and then one person turns into 2 people, turns into 4 people, turns into 6 people, and the next thing you know,
the whole building's
the
sick,
whole floor is sick, then the floor under you is sick,
and
it just goes on and on and on.
It's like that old commercial from the 70s. I told 2 friends, and they told 2 friends, and so on, and so on, and so on.
You know, I used to really like that commercial, and then I saw The Shining, and all I could hear is, "Come play with us forever and ever." And I'm like, I can't deal, man. I got all freaked out. Damn you, Stanley.
So anyway, it screwed up Catastrophe Vortex. Yeah. It screwed up Front Row 5 and 10. It even screwed up her Platinum Roses Garden. Mm-hmm. So I managed to get the short little shows done each week, but we're back this week, and we are going to change up a few things. We're going to, because of the way this happened, we're not having our full Festival of Film Festival show. Boom. In one show. What we're going to do is over the next few weeks, we're going to discuss one of the festivals each week, starting with Sundance today, and we're going to go over the films and stuff like that in a segment, and then we'll do some other stuff too. And that'll also happen when we come up to our Boston Springs of Festival stuff in May. Yep. We're going to do that the same way. So it's going to be interesting. Also, I apologize for being late with it, but, we couldn't, like I said, it couldn't be helped.
And of course, last week we were so hungover celebrating the Patriots' glorious win at the Super Bowl. Oh, no, wait, we weren't.
The sarcasm king will get you for that,
Sorry. No, we need to bring that up. I mean,
why? This isn't a Super Bowl show.
No, but we should bring it up because it was important to a lot of people. The Super Bowl was,
not as important to the writer at the Herald, who's now been suspended for a false story about Tom Brady's paycheck.
No, and
his jealousy of Jimmy Garoppolo, who just got a ton of money from the San Francisco Giants.
Yeah, which is apparently a lot of hooey.
No, we got the money, but Brady's
I meant the Brady jealousy stuff because
it's,
he's Tom Brady. He has no reason to be jealous of anybody.
There's a lot of stuff going on with the Boston Talk Radio. They need to watch. The sports raters better watch it. They're going to have all the Patriots pissed at them.
Yeah. Never mind the Patriots. The Patriots fans are want to kick the crap out of that.
So anyway, we know you guys don't want to hear Patriots, and I got what I deserve. The one year I get really hyped about winning, and I send Eric after his little comment about I send him a letter. I was talking to my friend Eric Lyon from Cavebabble, and he's like. I send him, I got to do this because I'm up here, go Pats. He's like, you forgot the word home in between go and Pats.
Yeah.
So I sent him a bunch of pro Brady stuff, and of course we lost. So it's like, okay, Eric, you win.
So TC decides to do the mature adult thing and go, here's a bunch of memes, and then we lose. Yeah. So it's your fault.
No, it's not my fault. It's Gronk's fault.
Now, that's not nice.
It is.
But here at Subject Cinema, we do practice fair play, and we should be honorable. You should be as gracious.
Since when?
Well, some of us do.
That's a laugh.
You should be as gracious in defeat as you are in victory. So congratulations to the Philadelphia Eagles for winning the Super Bowl in 2018.
Yeah, congratulations. Fine. Yay. Hope you enjoyed Disney World, Mr. Quarterback. I've forgotten his name already. Bowles. I think that's his name.
Anyway,
let's get into movies and stuff. We've talked enough about junk and about illnesses. And as I said, we are going to be changing up things a little bit. Also, this is our final Subject Cinema on Sundays. We're moving to Saturday, starting this coming Saturday with Subject Cinema, because we're having a little bit of logistics issues with doing both Subject Cinema and Platinum Roses Garden on Sunday, and Kim wants to do her show on Sunday, so we're going to move Subject Cinema back to Saturday, and that'll start with this coming Saturday, just so you know. So you won't get all confused. There'll be 2 Subject Cinemas this week, one today and one on Saturday, and then every Saturday thereafter.
Yep.
Got that? It's on Saturdays starting next week. Anyway, let's get into the first of the big festivals, the oldest not the oldest, but the
one that
most prestigious, the one that everybody talks about. We'll hit Palm Springs, Santa Barbara, and what am I forgetting? Sundance, Palm Springs, Santa Barbara, South by Southwest, Berlin, coming up later in the next few weeks. Today, we're going to talk about Sundance. every year in January, everybody who's anybody sojourns to 3 places for 4 big film festivals, and then later on in February they go a few other places. And it starts off every year with the Palm Springs Film Festival. It's usually the first week in January, and then it ends. The January ones end with Santa Barbara Film Festival, which is usually the last week of January or the first week in February. In between those, there are 2 concurrent film festivals held in Park City, Utah, and we'll talk about Slamdance next week. And Sundance, which originally started as the Sundance Film Festival when it was just a local film festival before Robert Redford came in and started doing things with it, is considered the most prestigious first-year stuff. People start talking Oscars usually for the films that came out at Sundance, except this year they're not.
Yeah. Also, the fact that when
it's interesting that we're having this post-festival chance to do this, because normally we promote the films we want to see and urge you to watch them. This year we're actually able to sit back and analyze why this year's Sundance was a total flop.
Yeah. The thing about Sundance is also the fact that when people talk about a film, if you have somebody that you want to take to a film and they're kind of on the fence about it, and you go, well, it did really well at Sundance, that will tip some people into being like, well, if it did well at Sundance, there must be something to it, so we'll go.
Well, I mean,
that doesn't always work out.
Last year there were some big acquisitions at Sundance that did end up doing well and that have garnered some Oscar attention. There was Call Me By Your Name, which is one of the biggest, expected. It's expected probably to win Best Picture. Get Out premiered at Sundance. Mudbound, The Big Sick, all of which earned quite a bit of money. Mudbound went straight to Netflix, which was probably the best thing they could have done. Call Me By Your Name has done well on the indie circuit. Get Out was, of course, a blockbuster. And The Big Sick got marginal numbers when it hit theaters, although it did get great reviews. Patty Cakes, which Fox Searchlight spent $9.5 million for at Sundance last year, didn't even earn $1 million when it came back out in July.
Right.
Despite the critical acclaim, the public was kind of ambivalent about this teenage rapper from New Jersey, female teenage rapper from New Jersey. And it didn't do anything. This is not the first year there have been bombs at Sundance by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, there was an enormous sum paid for Dope in 2015, which went nowhere at the box office. I mean, it did earn its money back eventually. But when it first opened, they decided to take this niche film about South Central Los Angeles buddies and put it in a wide release opposite Jurassic World and watched it self-destruct. Not only
a niche film, but a period piece.
Yeah, the 90s, set in the early 90s. This year, there were 182 films at Sundance, I think it was. Let me find the list here. I got to bring up my other list here. 110 films at the time the variety thing was done. And there were very few sales. This was a real slow year for the Sundance Film Festival. Now, here are the films that have been bought and are already on their way to theaters or Netflix. And we'll let you make up your own mind. Seeing Allred, documentary about ambulance chasing lawyer Gloria Allred. Come on.
Well, that tells you what side of the fence certain
I can't stand that woman or her daughter. I'm sorry. It was bought by Netflix. It is already airing on Netflix. It premiered on Thursday. I'm sorry. If you like Gloria Allred, I mean, don't you get the distinct feeling? I mean, she seems to be out there anytime there's a sexual harassment case or anything. She seems to be at the forefront.
The only lawyer I have any respect for is Perry Mason. When it comes to the...
You don't like Ben Matlock or the guy from Law & Order?
I don't... When it comes to the rest of the lawyers of the world, I take William Shakespeare's advice, and I'm not repeating the actual line.
30 West and Roadside Attractions bought Beast, which was in the Spotlight section. Planned for a spring release by Roadside Attractions. The Price of Everything, a documentary about the art world and its soaring auction sales. Sold to HBO documentary films, will premiere on HBO later this year. Believer, also to HBO documentary films, will premiere later this year. It is the true story of Imagine Dragons lead singer Dan Reynolds, who is a Mormon frustrated by the church's treatment of its LGBTQ parishioners, which is something that Scott Glenn, the lead singer of that's terrible. They're one of my favorite bands, and they went right out of my head. I'll think of it in a minute. He's also Mormon. He came out as gay last year, and is like having problems with it. Tyler Glenn is his name. That's his name. And he used to lead the band that had a hit with Animals. What was the name of it? Neon Trees. I love Neon Trees. I'm so sorry. Bodied, which was produced by 8 Mile Oscar winner Eminem, got a B+ from Eric Cohn at Indiewire. Is about the Oakland hip hop scene. It was purchased by YouTube Red. They're a new player this year. Oscilloscope picked up The King, a biopic about Elvis Presley. It's a documentary that is part biopic, part investigative journalism, and got really good words. Executive produced by Steven Soderbergh. Hearts Beat Loud was picked up by Sony Pictures around the world. North American rights went to the small Gunpowder and Sky. They're a new distributor that's getting out there. Executive produced by Nick Offerman, who also stars as a record shop owner who starts a band in Brooklyn, his hometown, where he owns a shop with his college-bound daughter. Also stars Kiersey Clemens. Got good word of mouth at Sundance, and Nick Offerman is one of those actors that I can take or leave depending on his performance. Hated him in Kings of Summer, but he was brilliant in Me and Earl and the Dying Girl. Yeah. So he's just one of those character actors that I'm kind of ambivalent about. But I think I would enjoy that. Colette, which I think is perhaps the most talked about film of Sundance this year, went to Bleecker Street in America and Lionsgate for the UK. This is it's Keira Knightley as the enigmatic Belle Opaque novelist whose first 4 books were published under her husband's name. Do you know this story?
I know the story, yeah.
Dominic West co-stars, and it won. It was a. Oh no, sorry, that was a former picture from him. Leave No Trace also went to Sony worldwide with U.S. rights to Bleecker Street. This is coming from Deborah Granick, of course, the director of Winter's Bone, which was a massive Sundance hit and made John Hawkes and Jennifer Lawrence breakout stars. Yep. This one tells the story of a father and teenage daughter who live off the grid near Portland, played by Ben Foster and Thomasin Harcourt McKenzie.
Is it Portland, Maine or Portland, Oregon?
Portland, Oregon.
Oh.
It is based on the Peter Rock novel, My Abandonment. That one also got really good word of mouth. Search, which I think is the most intriguing film and I'm interested in seeing, is set all on a computer screen. It stars John Cho as a father searching for his missing 16-year-old daughter, scouring her laptop for clues, going online, doing live chats and stuff. This thing got incredible word of mouth at the festival, and I like John Cho anyway. He's really great in everything. It sounds unique enough that it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, he's one of those actors that, I mean, obviously everyone knows him as Mr. Sulu from the J.J. Abrams reboot of
He's best known
Star
for Harold
Trek
and Kumar.
And Harold and Kumar.
Yeah.
That's my point. He's a really good ensemble player or part of a duo.
He got raves for Columbus last year also, which also opened at last year's Sundance.
But to give him a film where he gets to shine like that, I really want to see that. I think that's going to be really, really intense and interesting.
America, to me, was an indie episodic. I think this is actually a TV series. It's everyday kids and their families featured in a look at from Steve James, who is the director of Abacus, Small Enough to Jail, and also the Roger Ebert movie, Life Itself, and everything else, looking at the way America is perceived by kids and teachers. It sounds interesting. Monsters and Men from Neon was in the dramatic competition. This film is features an unarmed African-American man who was murdered by police officers in Bedford-Stuyvesant in Brooklyn, and it looks at this happening. It is a drama. It's not a documentary, although you'd never know it from the subject matter.
Unfortunately, no, considering what's going on in America right now, which is,
The Guilty,
terrible.
About a cop turned emergency dispatcher who receives a call from a kidnapped woman and tries to save her himself. It was described by somebody at Variety. It's set in a single location, again, like similar to Search, because I take it he does this all while on the job. Mm-hmm. It's Tom Hardy in Locke meets Halle Berry in The Call, according to reviewers. Mm-hmm. This is from it's a Danish film, and Magnolia has picked it up, so it should probably show up in on the Landmark chain, and also some of their films show up on demand, so you want to keep an eye out for that.
That's true, too. Usually like a same-day premiere, like that hits theaters and stuff. Yeah,
again, we have to look very carefully because the biggest winner of the year is not necessarily something that's going to appeal to everybody. The big purchase this year was a $10 million plus purchase of the film Assassination Nation. It went to Neon, another newer distributor. Assassination Nation is about a quartet of teenage girls who go after an unidentified hacker that's publishing everyone's secrets. Co-starring Odessa Young, Suki Waterhouse, Hari Neff, and Bella Thorne. It was written by what's his name? Let me see. Sam Levinson. Sorry, directed by Sam Levinson, who won the award 7 years ago at Sundance for Another Happy Day, which co-starred Ezra Miller, and a few other people. Good, but this has got really good word of mouth, and it's set in Salem, Massachusetts. Mm-hmm. I don't think it was filmed there, but that's where it's set.
I think somebody would have said something about it by now.
Yeah, but I'm wondering if it's going to really take off. Revenge from Shudder, also Neon. The first feature from French writer-director Coralie Farriat centers on a man and woman, their dreamy getaway, which is upended when crashed by his hunting posse. Whatever that means. Directed by, Coralie Farriat and starring Kevin Janssens and Matilda Lutz. It will broadcast on Shudder following a theatrical and VOD release this spring, so you can keep an eye out for that. RBG from the documentary department of Magnolia Pictures and participant films around the world. It will air on CNN here and CNN Films. Is a look at where was that? Where's the description? RBG is a look at Ruth Bader Ginsburg and her 56-year marriage to her late lawyer husband Martin D. It highlights her many years on the Supreme Court. Is said to be a absolute hoot because the woman is quite cantankerous. If you've ever seen her on an interview, she can be killingly funny.
She doesn't suffer fools gladly or idiots at all.
So that will premiere on CNN later this year, and it should be interesting. Three Identical Strangers, which is the documentary that jumped out at me because I was familiar with the subject matter, follows the lives of three triplets who were separated at birth and who found themselves at the same college when they turned 18 and realized they were triplets. This made the news back in I think it was 1978 or 79. It was when I was still in high school. One of them is now deceased. The other two cooperate with this, and this was actually done as part of a child development story.
Yeah, this wasn't.
They were deliberately separated.
Yeah, this wasn't like these people were separated out of need. They were separated out of some experiment. I mean, that's sick.
Yeah, Neon will distribute to theaters in America, and it will premiere on CNN in the fall. So I'm definitely interested in seeing that one. Spheres, which also ended up with a million plus, is a new frontier virtual reality series that will air on television later this year, narrated by Jessica Chastain. The idea is, City Lights, who produced it or bought it, said this when they issued their press release on the purchase. The ambition and generative nature of the vision for Spheres fits perfectly with our mission to bring content to broader audiences and showcase the types of experiences only virtual reality can deliver. Darren Aronofsky is the executive producer of the project, and the full title is Spheres, Songs of Space-Time. You can see a trailer on Vimeo. Blind Spotting also got really good word of mouth and is already committed. Will open in theaters on July 27th with an expanded run on August 10th from Lionsgate. This is it's an interesting film because it's got a lot of good people in it. Daveed Diggs, who has become a big star thanks to Hamilton and who you know from Supernatural, right?
Yes.
And Raphael Cassé. It's an authentic Oakland story and is supposed to be really, really hard-hitting and got incredible word of mouth. And American Animals, this one is interesting because of who bought it, not necessarily. Well, it is interesting because the movie has me interested because it has a great cast, including Evan Peters and a number of other people. But it's the story of...
It's the story of four young men. This is according to the information online.
Right.
4 young men who mistake their lives for a movie and attempt one of the most audacious art heists in U.S. history.
This is interesting because this has been purchased by MoviePass Ventures. MoviePass Ventures are teaming up with the Orchid to bring this into American theaters. $3 million they paid for it. MoviePass, if those of you who are living under a rock, is a company that for a $9.95 membership a month, you can see a movie a day at participating theaters for just that one price.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they don't offer a couples option, so we've kind of blasted them about that. But everybody seems to think it's undercutting. I mean, AMC, they dropped 10 of AMC's top theaters from their lineup. We talked about that a couple weeks ago when we were actually last here because Boston Common was one of the theaters dropped from them.
Yep.
It's going to be interesting to see how that works. But the film itself sounds interesting. Lizzie, which is a new take on the Lizzie Borden story.
I really want to see this.
With Chloe Sevigny, who also is one of the executive producers, and Kristen Stewart. It is Roadside Attractions and Saban Films picked it up, and it's... could be interesting.
It's going to be a really interesting film.
If I'm not mistaken, this movie intimates that she did this because she was discovered by her father to be in a lesbian relationship.
They're hinting that that's where they're going with it.
Yeah, so this is interesting.
Yeah,
we've not seen the film. If I'm wrong and you've seen it at Sundance, let me know.
The 1892 murder of Lizzie Borden's father and stepmother shocked it was one of the crimes of the century at that time in Fall River, Massachusetts, of all places.
And Kid keeps trying to talk me into going to stay in the bed and breakfast. I'm like, no way!
This film is looking at it's posing the supposition that the intense friendship that Lizzie had with the family's maid, a young woman named Bridget Sullivan, might have been more than that.
Yeah, so it should be interesting. Puzzle from Sony Pictures Classic, they'll be distributing it worldwide, I believe this is let me see. You have the full Sundance lineup, but Can you pull up what that is?
Puzzle? Mm-hmm. Just give me 1 minute. Talk amongst yourselves for a second.
It kind of throws me off because it has an interesting cast that includes Kelly MacDonald and Irfan Khan.
Have we ever...
Oh, that's the Jigsaw Puzzle one. Yes.
Yes.
I knew what it was.
Is it Ifran or Ifran? I've never...
It's Irfan.
Irfan. I keep ruining that man's name, and I feel so bad. No, I mean, so that's the nice thing about a name like Kim. You really can't screw it up. I mean, you have to...
You can do Kime.
You really have... Yes, if you spell it that way. But, I mean, you really have to try super-duper hard to mess it up. I can't find it. Oh, got it. Okay. This is from the...
Sundance. Variety Sundance lineup.
Agnes, taken for granted as a suburban mother, discovers a passion for solving jigsaw puzzles, which unexpectedly draws her into a new world where her life unfolds in ways she never could have imagined.
This got some great reviews. Kate Erblund at Indiewire gave it a B+. It sounded really good.
Yeah.
Sorry to Bother You, picked up by Anna Perna Pictures. whose quote was, "We effing love this movie," when they picked it up. Produced by Forrest Whitaker, it focuses on a black telemarketer whose job becomes instantly easier when he starts mimicking a white person. Now, does that sound current? Lakeith Stanfield from Get Out, Armie Hammer, Tessa Thompson, and Terry Crews are starring in it. It got a B+ from Eric Cohen at Indiewire. It opens June 29th in theaters everywhere.
I have a feeling this could open up an entirely new dialogue, because it makes me think of another film that we saw at another festival, ironically. A film that we saw called Do I Sound Gay?
Yeah.
Do
I Sound Gay started at Sundance, too.
Right.
Yeah.
Which talks about the whole thing of the gay voice.
Mm-hmm.
Now you bring up the whole idea of the black voice.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I mean, personally, I don't, when I listen to people on the phone, and I do that all day long.
Yeah, me too.
I don't go, oh, well, that sounds like a black person, that sounds like a white person. I just go, that sounds like a person, and I go from there.
Right.
But I think this could open up a lot of dialogue on something like that. I mean, do people find more success, or do they find other people shutting down if they speculate on who's on the other end of the phone?
Right.
Interesting thing. They could open up a lot of discussions, I think.
HBO Films picked up The Tale, which is a deeply affecting memoir from critically acclaimed filmmaker Jennifer Fox, starring Laura Dern. This one has gotten some interesting word of mouth, and it hasn't all been good. I've got to be honest. Some of it has been rather cringe-inducing, but I don't know. Laura Dern's always dependable, and there's always great stuff there.
Considering what's going on in the world, and especially in America right now, The Tale and its subject matter is going to raise a lot of eyebrows.
It's about a woman who is trying to get through a sexual assault that had happened 20 years ago and trying to come to terms with it. So it didn't get the best. It was not a perfectly reviewed film. I did see some negative reviews of it, although they all praised Laura's performance. She's always good. The Sentence from HBO Films Documentaries is a very personal story looked at from first-time filmmaker Rudy Valdez, whose sister was sent to prison for 15 years after becoming a married mother of 3, and we get that whole story. Zikr, a Sufi revival, is coming from Dogwoof. I'm not familiar with this distributor. It's a very small distributor, I would guess. It's a virtual reality documentary. Juliet Naked is the final film that's sold. It stars Rose Byrne, Chris O'Dowd, Ethan Hawke, and is based on the Nicholas Hornby novel. Rose Byrne plays a writer who pans the new album by her boyfriend's favorite artist, which leads to a personal response from that artist and their eventual affair. David Ehrlich, who is the crabby guy over at Indiewire, gave it a C- when it played at Sundance. Those are the only films that, as of this date, have sold. There are a lot of other films that I was interested in. I'm a bit surprised. I'm going to pull up one title right now. Because everybody was comparing it to Get Out, there was one title that surprised me that didn't sell, and that's a movie called Tyrell. The movie is a gentleman named Tyler spirals out of control when he realizes he's the only black person that's attending a weekend birthday party in a secluded cabin in the woods. This was getting really good of word of mouth at the Sundance Film Festival. It has a cast to die for. In addition to, Jason Mitchell plays Tyrell. It also features Christopher Abbott from Girls, the always dependable Michael Cera. Oh no, I can't say that. He's done a couple of crappy films too. But the always dependable Caleb Landry Jones and Dowd. I was surprised it didn't get more attention. Because they did give it a lot, but none of the buyers were interested in it. And that kind of threw me off because I thought it was going to be one of the first films to sell. this year. I go through the list when we get it every year, and I say these are going to be the ones that they're going to go after based on the storyline or the actors or whatever. And I get about 60% of them right, I'd say.
So, yeah.
Because I'm not there and I'm not in Hollywood and I don't look at it this way. There was also one in the, and I've got to get down to it, so give me a second. There was one in the Midnights section that I also thought was going to be a bigger jumper, and it didn't do anything at all. And I'm like, wow. All the attention, all the attention was focused on Assassination Nation, and no attention went to Summer of '84. Summer of '84 opened this weekend in limited release. It is a Canadian thriller that has won close to 40 awards at film festivals around the world in the last 6 to 8 months. This thing is a monster at the festivals.
Right.
And nobody touched it. I mean, it obviously had a distributor because it came out this weekend. I don't remember which distributor it was, but it's on a very, very limited release. So you might want to look for it on your on-demand. It has mostly a cast of dependable Canadian actors that are not that familiar to Americans, but I really was surprised that it went nowhere. The other one that is getting picked up, but it was not showing for the first time, it was showing it the first time at Sundance, but wasn't on the pickup list, even though I think CNN Films has picked it up, is Science Fair, which is also going to be a darling at several other festivals in the next few months. 9 high school students from around the globe navigate rivalry, setbacks, and hormones on their journey to compete at the International Science Fair. This is a documentary. It got really tons of praise, and I think it won an award also. And I don't quite get that there's a lack of buzz among the regular average people, because that sounds like something going good. I mentioned one, I don't see it here either. I mentioned one that I wanted to see that premiered at Sundance. It opens in a couple of weeks, but I don't see it on the list, so it may have been added later. It's a movie called Oh, Lucy, which is opening later in February. It's a Japanese film about a lonely Japanese woman who finds herself a new life when she takes a class to learn English, and they are asked to adopt American personas.
Yeah.
So she pops on a pink wig and becomes Lucy and finds her life opening up in different ways that she never expected. I think this sounds fascinating.
I do too.
And the casting, I don't know, of course, but there's every year there's 2 or 3 good ones that slip under the radar at Sundance, and that might be one of them. I'm not sure. Do you see anything on the list that really jumps out at you?
Well, the Lizzie Borden movie, I think sounds really interesting, because I've always been fascinated by that case. There's a few other things that caught my attention. I think we're alone now. I know a lot of people will look at this and go, "It's Last Man on Earth," and it is, but it's also Last Man on Earth with Peter Dinklage in it. So screw you. That makes it more interesting.
Oh, that's the thing with Peter Dinklage and Elle Fanning, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
It's the story. It's the apocalypse proves a blessing in disguise for one lucky recluse until a second survivor arrives with the threat of companionship. I'm sorry, that just sounds interesting to me. Because it's Peter Dinklage and he's awesome, and Elle Fanning's amazing, and that's just my own.
We should
opinion.
mention that the Grand Jury Prize winner for narrative films has not been picked up yet either. It's a film called The Miseducation of Cameron Post. It is set in 1993, and it delves into gay conversion therapy with Chloe Grace Moretz, always awesome. Forrest Goodluck, who played DiCaprio's kid in the Revenant, Sasha Lane, John Gallagher Jr., Jennifer Ely. This movie, what I have seen about this, I can't wait to see this film. This is going to be a Kendall trip, without a question. This looks awesome. And the last 2 years at various festivals, Chloe's films seem to be getting picked up, and then they disappear and they don't show up anywhere.
Yeah.
I don't know what the deal is. We're still trying to find out from Netflix what happened to Brain on Fire, which was bought in Toronto 18 months ago, and it still hasn't shown up yet. And I'm trying to find out. I mean, I've challenged them with an article a few weeks ago. I shot them a tweet over the weekend. I said, "You're going to answer my question? What happened to this movie?"
Yep.
So we'll see what happens. But the cast is great here, and obviously it did well enough to earn the grand jury prize. So that's something. Grand jury prizes, however, don't always mean that it's going to do well, and for that I point to 2013's Blood Brother, which won the grand jury prize for documentary. One of the best documentaries of all time, and nobody saw it.
Yeah, which is a shame because it's an amazing film. It's an amazing, gut-wrenching film that will change you as a human being. And for some reason, people just didn't want to touch it, which I just completely don't get.
We'll have links up to some of the Sundance stuff so you can go through it yourself, take a look at the titles, and see what you like. Next week, we will talk about Slam Dance, which is a smaller festival, and also one of the other two festivals, either Santa Barbara or Palm Springs, and get those in. And coming up in the next few weeks, we'll also talk about South by Southwest, which announced its lineup about a week ago, Berlinale, which is going on right now in Berlin, and the smaller festivals that we've always covered because they have great films, the Victoria Film Festival in Victoria, British Columbia, and the Big Sky Documentary Film Festival in Missoula, Montana. And so we definitely will have this for you in the next few weeks.
Yep.
T.C. Kirkham and Kim Brown.
Real movies for real people. Subject Cinema.
All right, Kristen, I am so excited that you've decided to do a podcast with me, but what are we going to do a podcast about? There's so many other movie podcasts. We got to do something original.
Well, I'm a big fan of Disney movies. What about something like that?
That's just kid stuff. What do we want to do that for?
Did you know that The Avengers is a Disney movie? Or that Pulp Fiction is a Disney movie?
Pulp Fiction is not a Disney movie.
It's technically owned by Miramax, which is part of Disney.
We are still going to talk about the Disney animated movies, though, right?
I thought you said that was kid stuff.
Well, I've got 2 kids. I got to be a good dad and stuff.
So be sure to subscribe to the Walt Sent Me podcast, where we discuss the various subsidiaries of the Walt Disney Studios, including the animated movies.
It's available on iTunes, Podomatic, and wherever you find great podcasts. And I swear, it's not kid stuff.
All movies, all the time. Subject Cinema with TC and Kim.
We should mention, we didn't mention it in our main segment, but we should mention quickly, there's another film at Sundance that we're both very much interested in. We didn't mention it because it pre-sold. It was sold before it aired at Sundance. It's a new documentary about Fred Rogers called Won't You Be My Neighbor? And it looks at Rogers and the way that he looked at life and how it affects everyone who sees him.
Right. Real quick, I want to read the blurb here. Blurb says, Fred Rogers used puppets and play to explore complex social issues, race, disability, equality, and tragedy, and helping the American concept of childhood. He spoke directly to children, and they responded enthusiastically. Yet today his impact is unclear. Have we lived up to Fred's ideal of good neighbors?
Mm-hmm. It's based on a book that I actually read called, I think it's called, no, that's the Tom Hanks movie coming out. Yeah! Tom Hanks is going to play Fred Rogers in a movie. That's scary. I will say this about this, though, because we both grew up with Mr. Rogers.
Yes.
You said you didn't find him until you were older.
I told myself when I was really weird, because when I was young enough to watch Mr. Rogers, I was like, I'm too grown up for that. Mm-hmm. I was a very serious child.
Yeah, I know.
And the weird thing is, as I got to be a teenager and was so damn lost, I would look back at that and be like, I wish I had someone like that in my life.
I'm not afraid to admit this, and I've never been afraid to admit this. I loved the PBS shows, and I continued to watch them into my teenage years and even into my 20s. Because I thought they were fun. Shows like The Electric Company, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, Zoom, and a whole bunch of other ones. I loved those shows when I was growing up. You were into Sesame Street in a big way.
Yeah.
I never cared for Sesame Street, but the rest of them I did like. And I also watched... I was in my late 20s when Square One TV premiered, and I never missed that. Square One was hilarious, especially MathNet with Beverly Leach was a riot. I mean, you didn't miss that for anything, because that was awesome. I just think that Fred's legacy today, a lot of kids don't see.
No.
Mr. Rogers is still available online. Amazon Video has him.
The sad thing is I think a lot of the kids that watched Fred and grew up to be us and our contemporaries forgot those lessons and didn't pass them on to their children, and that's why we're in the mess we're in now.
I disagree. I want to say it this way. The kids that we had were unable to pass it on because at the time it was no longer available. PBS pulled it from distribution in the mid-1980s after Fred retired. It didn't become available again until 2002, 2003 on Amazon Video. And by that point, it was too late for that generation. Now, at least, they do have some connection to the universe, and that is owed to David Newell, the actor who played Mr. McFeely, who helped create and still oversees, what's the name of the show? Daniel Tiger's... Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood, isn't it?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
And it's set with one of the characters that was part of the neighborhood of Make-Believe, Daniel Striped Tiger. And while I think those are a little bit pedestrian for my taste, they're clearly aimed at 3 to 5-year-olds and wonderfully done. And if you've never seen them, you can at least get some of Fred's philosophies in that show. Yeah. And if you haven't seen them, there are 2 other documentaries out. One about Fred, one about David Newell, that you can find, and we'll have information on those on the show notes.
Yep.
But we forgot about that and wanted to bring that up.
The best movies! Subject Cinema!
PNR Network shows depend on our listeners. It's you that makes us who we are. Help us bring you all the best we can. Become a Patreon patron. Donations start at just $2 a month, and the more patrons we can get, the more we'll be able to offer. You can get great perks, plus exclusive blogs and podcasts available only for being a patron as well. It's absolutely fantastic. So please, become a Patreon patron today. We need you. Patreon.com/PNRNetworks.
Your every man's film school. This is Subject Cinema.
Now, you promise I don't have to get the duct tape out, okay?
Yeah.
All right. So, anyway, this propped up a couple weeks ago. We haven't had a chance to cover it yet, so we're going to do it now. Do you remember there's a group over on Facebook? I don't really like giving them publicity, but we have to talk about this because it's so outrageous. The group calls itself Down with Disney's Treatment of Franchises and Its Fanboys, and is headed up by, does it give his name here? No, they're not. They don't give his name, so that's good. The moderator, they just describe him as the moderator, has announced, the group has now announced that they are planning to sabotage the score for Black Panther on Rotten Tomatoes. Now, Black Panther, at this juncture, where we are right now, is one of the best reviewed movies of the year so far.
Yep.
Critics are going absolutely nuts over it. Right now it has 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. And of course it comes out as we're doing this show this coming Friday.
Yep.
Well, Thursday night.
We've seen the trailer. We've both been like, holy crap, this is going to be amazing.
This is what the event creator wrote. And I mean, I don't understand you're going to have to help me with this. Okay?
Why do you assume I understand?
I don't understand the motivations. I mean, I can understand their anger, but I don't understand their motivations.
I don't understand their anger or their motivations, nor do I want to.
This event they've titled Give Black Panther a Rotten Score on Rotten Tomatoes, Rotten Audience Score on Rotten Tomatoes. Quote, given the massive success of the audience review rating on the Rotten Tomatoes site for Star Wars The Last Jedi, which they also did, and due to the sudden rise in those disgruntled with Disney business practices, among other factors, especially due to the corporate manipulations which falsified bad press for the DC extended universe, I feel that it's time to strike back at all of those under Disney and bring that down the House of Mouse's actions for paying off the critics that hurt DC Comics on film and for other parties affected by them. I'll be making events like this for Infinity War and the Netflix shows, etc., so we can rally together to truly make a difference. If you want to spread spoilers to Marvel fanboys, use this event as a platform to inform us of targets. Now, 37 people, as of the writing where this article first appeared on Indiewire, on the Wrap 2 weeks ago, said that there were 3,700 people that were going. 1,800 said they were interested in the event. And that, of course, the page is making headlines because the New York Times is talking about it, the Wrap, Deadline Hollywood. Everybody's giving these guys publicity. Now, I understand their ire when it comes to the DC Extended Universe. I like Batman vs. Superman. I gave it a rather good review. I realized that my buddy Anthony Lamberti over at Comic Grotto was not a big fan, although he liked it too, but he liked the extended edition better. I did not like Suicide Squad, and I was vocal about that, but I liked Justice League fine. I mean, it could have been a better film, but it wasn't terrible. All the critics, most of the major critics out there, just tear the universe apart, no matter what it is. I mean, Batman vs. Superman got everybody in an uproar a year and a half ago, or 2 years ago now almost, when it came out, because all the fanboys were basically saying, you guys are wrong, and the critics were like, how dare you tell us we're wrong? So the critics have fueled this themselves.
Yeah.
But the idea, the honest to God Illuminati idea that sorry, I had to promote it. I love those commercials. That Marvel, Disney Marvel, is paying film critics to give DC movies a bad review is ludicrous.
Yeah, I'd like to ask all the people involved with this. How many of you think that most of the people that are pro Marvel and as you view them, pro Marvel and anti DC critics, how many of you think those people are also lizard people? Because I wouldn't be surprised.
Okay. I'm not going there with the lizard people.
It's just,
the gentleman of this group, who is is this the same group? Let me make sure. Wait a minute. In December, the group took credit for the low Rotten Tomatoes audience score on the Last Jedi. Mm-hmm. Writing, thanks to friends of mine who taught me a thing or two about bot accounts, I used them to create this audience score through Facebook accounts, created that subsequently, logged into Rotten Tomatoes, who rigged the score, and still keep it dropping. Now, Rotten Tomatoes said that's bullcrap. They've openly said no. And now, with this threat looming, have said this isn't going to happen. And now suddenly Facebook and Twitter are scouring everything for bot accounts after the big story that came out in the New York Times a couple of weeks ago, which revealed that Richard Roper had bought fake Twitter accounts and a whole bunch of other people bought fake Twitter accounts. Mm-hmm. So this guy who runs this group is a self-identified alt-writer, and he said that Oscar Isaac's Poe Dameron is, quote, a victim of the anti-mansplaining movement, and that Poe and Luke Skywalker are in danger of being turned gay, and that men need to be reinstated as rulers in society. Now, this is even more ridiculous. There's nothing to do. Yeah, Kim's over here pounding her head. This is, I gotta be honest, I don't know where this is coming from. I don't consider myself, either way. I'm right down the middle when it comes to movies, and I give my honest opinion. This is just ridiculous.
And I would also like to bring up the fact that you are not a racist, or a homophobe, or a sexist, or a jerk!
I try not to be.
Well, I thought I'd bring that out there, just to dump a little praise on you because you deserve it.
I think that
before I start screaming obscenities at the top of my lungs.
We need to be. I can't. This gets into a really, really dark and scary area. I do not believe in internet censorship of any type. I don't believe in, I am a firm believer in net neutrality. I do not believe that we should be censoring the internet, but at the same time, Facebook and Twitter and other social media platforms do not do enough to get rid of fake accounts. Twitter is suddenly ramped up big time trying to get rid of all of them, and more power to them.
Twitter does also do something where people can actually say, this person is promoting hate speech.
Well, so does Facebook
this
to some
person's
degree.
Promoting threatening people and stuff like that, and that's a good thing because
the problem
that's
is
people on Twitter saying, hey, this person's not being cool. Do something about it.
The problem is Twitter has not yet figured out how to tell between good bots and bad bots. Good bots are the type that, are just out there saying...
You mean like 3PO?
No, honey, take this seriously.
I'm sorry. I'm trying,
This is
trying to inject a little humor, sorry.
Not in this subject here.
Sorry.
Bots are not the bad thing, it's who uses them.
Well, it's technology.
Well, technology is
That's
good.
what I mean. Technology is neutral.
Yeah.
Technology is neither good nor bad. Technology exists. It's what you do with the technology that makes it good or bad.
A lot of businesses use Twitter bots to send out notices on online sales at their site and stuff like that. There's nothing wrong with that.
No, or if they announce that somebody's going to be there for a book signing.
Right, exactly. Those are mostly done by bots, and Twitter has actually removed a few things that they shouldn't have, and they're trying to fix this. But I honestly don't know. We're really getting into the paranoid delusional area when we start accusing Disney Lucasfilm or Disney Marvel or Disney 20th Century Fox. Oh God, that's scary. Of actually paying movie critics to give a rival company's film a bad review. Can I point out that critics, these same Marvel, so-called Marvel lovers, roasted Iron Fist within an inch of its life when it premiered on Netflix. Their whole thing was, we're whitewashing it. No, they weren't whitewashing it. The character in the comic books has always been Caucasian. So you're not whitewashing the character. And, I mean, they took offense to that, too. The same kind of people.
Yeah.
When are we going to get at a point where we can just say, hey, I respect your opinion, even though I don't agree with it. The whole thing, though, is where are we going? I mean, this is just doing nothing but making things worse.
Yep.
Wouldn't you say?
Absolutely.
All right, I'm going to shut up and let you have your say on this.
Okay, my whole thing with what was the stuff about how Poe and Luke they're in danger of being turned gay and blah blah blah? What was that? This is
because there's the movie is primarily women in power roles. Rey, Leia, Laura Dern's character.
It's women who are strong and powerful,
and also Jen Erso in Rogue One. Yeah. They also didn't like that.
It's women who are powerful, strong characters who are real women and are not props or just there as characters that you can lust after or something like that. That they're real people that have feelings and failings and exist on the same level as the male characters. Oh gosh, what were we thinking?
The interesting thing about Star Wars, they've complained tremendously about Rey since the Force Awakens.
Mm-hmm.
They've complained about Leia, who is from the original films. And they really hate General What's-Her-Name or Major What's-Her-Name that Laura Dern plays.
Right.
Why aren't they complaining about Captain Phasma?
Because they don't have to look at her.
Oh, well, that could be it. I don't know, but she's in the bad guy side in
because they don't have to look at her. Because you can't really... I mean, you can tell she's a female. You can hear her voice, and you can tell from the way that her armor is set up that she's a female.
Another question I have about their ire about Black Panther is they're trying... Do you think I can correctly assume that this group, given the background that they've already acknowledged, isn't really upset about the DC Marvel thing? In truth, what they're upset about is a black superhero in the lead with 2 black lead females beside of him. In fact, some of the reviewers have actually been pointing out that Lupita Nyong'o gets more airtime than Chadwick Boseman in the film.
Some people have flat out said they don't want to watch a movie with a black superhero. Right.
But
you know what? If you don't want to watch that kind of a movie, don't go.
Right. Okay. Now, let's flip this around. You had read online somewhere, and I'm sorry to put you on the spot because you probably don't have the site ready, that some black groups were telling white people, we don't want you at this movie, this is our movie.
I had brought up that a couple of people I had seen on Twitter, I haven't seen the original posts from this, but a bunch of people that I follow on Twitter were addressing this. Some African American people were addressing that certain other African American groups have said that white people should stay away from Black Panther because it's our movie. And their response to that was, knock that off.
Yeah.
You know, to which I'm like, thank you. You know, because
I'm waiting patiently for Armand White's
because
diatribe on this whole thing.
I have just hit the point. And nobody asked my opinion. And I realize in the grand scheme of things, the opinion of one person like me is not worth what would happen if you spit in the ocean.
Why don't you just go ahead and quote Bogey from Casablanca since you're tap dancing all the way around it?
The opinion of one little person doesn't amount to a hill of beans in this crazy world. But I couldn't do the whole Bogey quote right.
I know.
But my simple fact, what I'm trying to say is, and this is from the bottom of my heart, it's 2018. We need to grow up. Why are we still dealing with this crap? Why? Why is it still me versus you, us versus them? This is mine. This is ours. You know what? It can be something from the culture that you're from. And that can be awesome. And if you go, hey, this is from my culture, would you like to look at it? And somebody else says, yes, I would. And they look at it and they go, wow, that's from your culture. That's great. I'd like to take it over here and show it to somebody else, but leave it just like it is, so it's still representing the culture that you're from. And you go,
I'd like
cool.
to point out that nobody complains about Caucasians or black people or Latino or anyone else enjoying Hong Kong-made kung fu films.
No, I know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I've never heard a Chinese person be like, you can't watch Enter the Dragon. That's our movie.
Or any of the other films. You can keep Godfrey Ho.
I'm sorry. I am so sorry. But we are 2 years away from 2020. Knock it off! Just
it really is getting
off.
to the whole. I mean, I was making a joke earlier. BLUMINATI is the new ad campaign that Taco Bell is using, and I find it hilarious. But it really is right out of that era. Don't you think that some of the thinking behind these campaigns, not just this one, but there's other petitions and campaigns going on, and they're all thinking along the same lines. And I'm like, I don't believe. I'll admit, I do think that some of the reviewers have some biases. I was open and honest about that a few months ago. I think that it's almost, they're biased because of DC doing so crappy at the beginning. But I also have it in good stead that there was a pre-written review, and I can't prove this, but I have two sources that confirm it. There was a pre-written review by one of the writers at a major online movie site giving Wonder Woman a D- rating before they ever saw the film. And then when it came out and it shot straight to the top of the critics list, they were left with their tail between their legs, wondering what the hell to do.
Right.
So that kind of stuff makes me wonder, is there something to this?
Okay. Yes.
Somebody at one of the major sites has it in for the DC universe.
I understand what you're saying, and I wish you could prove that, and I wish you could say who it was, because they deserve to be shamed. They deserve to be publicly shamed for that kind of a thing, because you, as a critic, are doing
I have to be honest, the two sources that I have on this are good sources, but I can't honestly say that they're accurate because I've not seen it.
Right, because if you do something like that, you are doing a complete disservice to the people who read your work. But I would like to bring up, just playing devil's advocate, which I am wont to do.
You're an expert at.
Thank you.
That not necessarily a compliment, depending on what the subject is.
Well, I choose to take it as a compliment. There is a difference I would like to bring up. There is a difference between being biased and being burned. There is a difference. Being biased is being like, I have never seen any of these movies, but because I know that everybody else hates them, I'm going to give them a lousy review. Being burned is, well, I've seen such and such movie from so-and-so studios and it sucked. And you say that 5 times. And then movie number 6 comes out from such and such studios. You are probably going to go into that movie with a little more trepidation than you might if it was completely virgin snow.
Okay.
I'll give you a great example. Let's be perfectly honest. I think people would go running for the nearest exit, screaming at the top of their lungs, if it was announced that Tommy Wiseau was directing a porn movie.
Ow, what does that even mean?
No, I'm saying, but you wouldn't say to somebody, if you said to somebody, this is going to be horrifying, most people wouldn't say to you, oh, well, you're being biased, blah, blah, blah. They'd be like, no, you're probably right. Because most people who have seen The Room, who have 3 working brain cells and don't watch it when they're stoned, would watch a movie like The Room and be like, this is horrifyingly bad. It's funnily horrifyingly bad, but if someone said to you that director was going to do something else, your first reaction is not going to be, oh gosh, I hope they get it right this time. Your first reaction is going to be, oh dear Lord in heaven, he's going to ruin another genre. So there is a difference between being biased and being burned.
All right.
If you see what I mean?
Yes, I do.
Okay. I just wanted to get that out there.
I think that's more of a director's thing than a studio thing, though.
Not necessarily. Not if you heard.
I'm more inclined to not like a film by Michael Bay because it's Michael Bay, not because it's Paramount Studios putting it out. That's what I'm saying.
Right, but if you heard that something was coming out from the Asylum, your first reaction would be, oh Lord, Your first reaction would be something along the lines of, oh, strap yourself in, kids, this is going to be bumpy. You're not going to think, well, gosh, maybe this time they've actually, found a winning horse and they're going to actually make something good. Gosh darn it. You're going to think, oh, I'm getting ready for a world of hurt.
Yes.
And that's not because you're being biased. That's because you've seen other Asylum films, and no amount of whiskey will wash that away.
Don't tell people that. I don't want them to know I've seen other things besides Sharknado. Don't tell them that. We
have an entire month called Masochistic March.
Oh, yeah.
They've figured it out by now.
We haven't done any Asylum films on Masochistic March except Sharknado.
They've cracked the code, babe. But that's where I'm coming from.
Okay. What is your opinion about this, guys? We would love to hear from you. We'd love to talk with you about it on the air. We'd love to read your letters about it. So get off your lazy butts and write us about it. SubjectCinema@PNRNetworks.com.
Tactless yet rude.
T.C. Kirkham and Ken Brown. Subject Cinema.
Want to know what's happening for the weekend? Then check out Subject Cinema's 3-Minute Weekend, spotlighting all the new films hitting your local theaters. Join host T.C. Kirkham as he gives you the 411 on all the new blockbuster releases, as well as the indies that might be coming to your town, and choices for video on demand as well. 3-Minute Weekend, every Friday morning from Subject Cinema and eCinemaOne.com, a member of the Lamb Podcasting Network, a PNR Networks podcast.
we've got the films of the present and future. This is Subject Cinema.
Just for get it out there, we're right now, if you're listening day and date when we're doing this, the 2018 Winter Olympics have started in Pyeongchang, or Pyongyang, depending on where you hear it.
Yeah.
South Korea. Red Gerard became the first American to win a gold medal this year. Red is a explosive new snowboarder on the slopestyle course. And of course promptly got ratted out because he, got excited, and maybe 17-year-old kid, and lost his...
He slipped and said a not terribly bad word.
No, and then, of course, one of his friends, when he actually won the gold medal, slipped and said an entirely worse bad word. And, of course, they come back on with the coverage. Oh, well, how these... we want to apologize for the language you may have heard. It was exuberance of the live telecast, blah, blah, blah. Really? He's a 17-year-old kid who said shit. Big deal. Yeah. Honestly.
He was a 17-year-old kid that just won a gold medal on the world
Olympics.
Stage.
You can forgive him. He was the only American that made the finals of the men's slopestyle competition, and like Sage Kotzenberg 4 years ago, his name is suddenly at the top of the discussion. Mm-hmm. And so, of course, we knew Sage before that, but nobody else did. And hopefully, I don't know if Red's going to make the rounds of the talk shows, because he doesn't really he's not real comfortable talking with reporters on camera, and it's very obvious. But he's an amazing snowboarder, and the silver went to Max Perot, and the bronze to Mark McMorris. I believe it might have been the other way around. And it was just a great competition. Mm-hmm. I'm waiting see what happens with this half pipe, and then of course the skiers next week. So
yep.
It'll be fun. I'm excited, and we've been watching some of the stuff on the Olympics, and just
what did
going
you think
like,
of the
wow.
opening ceremonies?
The opening ceremonies were interesting. The torch lighting was especially cool, and I love the way that they've got the lighted panels all the way around the audience to be able to write stuff with fast-moving lights, Mm-hmm. That's very cool. Of course, they came into the arena in the Korean alphabetical order.
Yes.
So the United States came in with E, because it translates to something it's spelled with E.
I thought it was M.
M, sorry.
Yeah.
And then it was interesting. The United States has the largest delegation. The whole thing I don't understand is well, I do understand it, but the whole Olympic athletes from Russia, which are actually competing under the Olympic flag. These are athletes who were able to prove that they had done no doping, and that they were, but they're still from Russia, who was banned, and the IOC basically was like, well, we want to give them a chance to compete. And I can understand that, but it's kind of silly the way they're doing it. So
it's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean,
the Olympics run for the next 2 weeks. If you're listening to this day and date, it might be over with by the time if you're listening to it 6 months down the road.
Mm-hmm.
But, we just thought we'd run that in, and it's been a lot of fun. So go Team USA. Let's have lots of fun. And who's the Supernatural fan?
She's one of the figure skaters. She's a female figure. I don't have her name right in front of me.
Tanel was her last name.
Yes, yeah. She's a big Supernatural fan. She's a Dean girl, so that's no problem with that, obviously.
Yeah.
And so definitely props to her, and hope she brings back gold. And even if she doesn't, she's just awesome anyway.
She might bring back Team Gold in the Team USA. We'll see. But that's what's going on there. Alrighty, before we head out on here on this rather short show, want to remind you once again, Subject Cinema is moving to Saturdays with this coming Saturday. Mm-hmm. If you're listening day and date, that would be February 17th, right? I believe. Let me check here. February 17th, where we will have coverage of Slam Dance and a couple of other things, and all the news stuff. We'll have some reviews for you, and a lot more going on as we get things back into track after being so sick.
Yeah.
You are going to have a massive show this weekend.
Yeah, Platinum Rose's
You've missed
Garden.
3 shows.
Yeah, Platinum Rose's Garden is going to be a big show this week. I will have 3 reviews up for you for the episodes breakdown various and sundry villains and Devil's Bargain. So I hope you will check that out over at PlatinumRosesGarden.com. And I hope you will also check out the other show that I am doing right now called Ring Around the Rosie, which is my wrestling podcast. I have wrestling memories and stuff like that, and Raw and SmackDown reviews and my own unique take on those. Neither show is safe for work, so that's out there, a little heads up for you.
Platinum Roses Garden available Sundays at PlatinumRosesGarden.com, and Ring Around the Rosie available on Wednesdays at ringaroundtherosie.net. Mm-hmm. And we hope you will check those out. My show, Catastrophe Vortex, returns Monday with the new episodes. I missed the last 2 weeks because I was so sick, but I will have a new review up this week. I hope you'll check it out. It's at CatastropheVortex.com. Mm-hmm. Also check out our mini shows, Subject Cinema's 2 mini shows, 3-Minute Weekend on Friday, Tuesday Digidex on Tuesdays, with the new releases for theaters on Friday and home video on Tuesday, and also our weekly show, which will also return this week, Front Row 5 and 10, mm-hmm. which is Thursdays in the evenings. This week's topic will be our top 10 restaurant desserts.
Yes.
My choice.
Yes, that's going to be fun. And we've got other members of our strange little internet family out there. Those would include Eric and Valerie and their show Cavebabble, and the other people that are on their show with them, their kids and grandkids and assorted male people and dogs and readers and whoever else they can get coming to talk on the mic. And they do a great show. They've got, talking about movies and music and games, and Cavebabble Eats Odd Things. And
they did a whole show of those a couple weeks ago, by the way. And that's at Cavebabble.com. And don't forget to check out Comic Grotto with Aunt B and Pee-wee. It's at ComicGrotto.com. Mm-hmm. All the latest comic issues, plus comics related to TV and film.
Yep.
And we hope you'll check that out. And for those of you who have not checked it out yet, please check out PNR Network's first ever dramatic presentation, Manhattan Hammerdown. Can't even say it anymore. Manhattan Hammerdown, As It Happened, our 10th anniversary Cloverfield tribute. It is a 1 hour and 40-minute original dramatic production. It runs 20 minutes longer than the original film, and we hope that you will check it out. And it is available at ManhattanHammerdown.com and also on our YouTube channel. We hope you will check that out. It was a long labor of love for us to do that, and we hope you'll enjoy it. And if you do listen to it, let us know. Please check in with us every now and then at Subject Cinema at PNRNetworks.com. We never hear from you anymore. You never call, you never write, you never do anything. What happened to all you guys? Come on. Take a couple of minutes and let us know you're out there, because we desperately need to hear from you. We want to know how you're taking the show. Without you guys writing to us, we have no way of definitely judging how things are going. Unless, of course, you take the time to donate to Patreon. Patreon is for our all of our shows. We're trying to finance stuff. We are desperately in need of new equipment. We've been asking for help for that for about a year, and we hope that you guys will come on board. It's $2 a month or more, depending on what you want to do, and all kinds of great perks involved with everything. We are going to be restructuring a few things based on other stuff going on, but we do hope you'll come aboard and take the time to donate, because if you like what you listen to and you like what you hear, then be sure to like us a little bit by helping us out a little bit at patreon.com/PNR Networks. And don't forget to follow us on Twitter. I am at eCinemaOne and eCinemaBoston TC. She is at Platinum Rose L. And also check out our Facebook at Popcorn and Roses, and keep an eye on things in general.
Yep.
Anything else?
No, I think that ought to do it.
Alrighty, so let's dance off into the sunset. Ow, my coccyx!
You stepped on my foot!
For Subject Cinema, I'm T.C. Kirkham.
I'm Kim Brown.
May your popcorn always be buttered.
And may your roses always be in bloom.
TTFN.
Bye now.
You have been listening to Subject Cinema with hosts T.C. Kirkham and Kim Brown. Subject Cinema is produced by PNR Networks, Boston, Massachusetts, which is solely responsible for its content. Subject Cinema theme performed by Eric Lyon. Subject Cinema is recorded and produced using Sony Vegas products. Subject Cinema is copyright 2017 by PNR Networks under a Creative Commons license. Check out a new episode of Subject Cinema every weekend. Until next time, this is Bob Taylor for Subject Cinema. and we'll see you at the movies.
That's all.
Podcasting's choice. From coast to coast, continent to continent, right here 24/7.